Welcome to the HPG Blackout. This will be the only one I care about. If you are a Blakeist, please see yourself to the nearest airlock. Because of the nature of this era's name, I will refer to it as the Word of Blake War, because that is more advertiser-friendly and will not get us shut down by Comstar. Instead, they will keep us in this blackout, so help us get our signal out by liking this video and subscribing to the channel. From the 28th to 31st centuries, despite periods of relative calm, the inner sphere was marked by ongoing wars and upheaval. The momentary unity following the defeat of the clans was shattered as the resurrected Star League, under the control of Sun Tzu Liao, used his position to wage a war of occupation against the St. Ives Compact, strengthening his influence in the process. The Federated Commonwealth dissolved after decades of unity in 3062 due to a string of crises and subsequent civil war, leaving the nation militarily weakened. Despite having the potential to rise in power, the Draconis Combine was held back by costly wars. Meanwhile, the Word of Blake, a splinter group from Comstar, sought to seize control during the chaos, gaining power by occupying Terra. However, their ambitions were stunted by the intense public backlash against their aggressive actions. This turmoil was marked by constant conflicts, reshaping the political and military landscape of the inner sphere and leaving the future uncertain. Wolf's Dragoons and their propaganda division were accused of distorting the truth about their operations. Their mercenary business was seen as a threat to humankind due to its negative impact on stability and peace in regions such as the Inner Sphere and Chaos March. The Allied Mercenary Command, led by the Dragoons, was accused of perpetuating wars for monetary gains. The Word of Blake claimed to seek stability and peace and viewed the Dragoons as a significant threat. Amidst these tensions, various mercenary units exhibited unpredictable behavior, undermining trust in them. For instance, the Broadsword Legion, initially employed by the Dragoons, defected to join Word of Blake's forces. In the backdrop of such events, suspicion was also cast upon the Northwind Highlanders' seclusion. On the other hand, the public sentiment across various territories, including the Draconis Combine and Free Worlds League, increasingly turned against mercenaries. Amidst this turmoil, the Clan Wolf in Exile flagship successfully conducted a rescue mission, saving survivors from Wolf's Dragoons Gamma Regiment, civilians and warriors from Romulus, contributing further to the complexity of this situation. Marked by the end of the Fedcom Civil War, the fall of Catherine Steiner Davian's reign, and the dissolution of the Second Star League, the Lyran Alliance faced the collapse of its civilization in the tumultuous year of 3067. This year brought out the worst in the Lyrans, known for their greed, which nearly led to their downfall. Furthermore, the brutal Word of Blake War arrived at Tharkad, their capital, leaving thousands dead and their world in disarray. The attack destabilized the Lyran political and military leadership, rendering them directionless. The impact of this conflict extended to major worlds, including Donegal, Skye, and Coventry, leaving few untouched by the losses. Questions arose regarding the decisions of their leaders and the potential paths not taken, such as retaining the Second Star League or not forming it in the first place. The actions of influential figures like Christian Mansdotter, Theodore Kurita, and Victor Steiner Davian came under scrutiny, with some wondering if more vital leadership could have prevented the unfolding catastrophe. The onset of the Word of Blake War saw Lyran authority dissipate, signaling the start of a severe crisis for the Lyran Alliance. Disruptions in traditional communication methods hampered the Federated Sun's crisis response, exacerbated by the spread of panic. However, despite unreliable communications with New Avalon, the State Command Authority remained functional, with the Princess Regent alive, safe, and actively directing the defense of the Federated Suns. The Fed Suns were at war with the Word of Blake, who initiated attacks on New Avalon and other national capitals using varied warfare tactics. The Sun's forces were deemed sufficient to counter the threat. The Word of Blake also attacked other worlds, often with disguised forces that created internal unrest. The Fed Suns found themselves in a de facto state of war, with the Capellans and the Combine in the wake of the Capellan Chancellor's presumed death. In this fraught landscape, commanders were urged to circulate this information, taking precautionary steps to maintain national defense and discontinue offensive operations, except when required for protection. The conflict coincided with residual tensions from previous conflicts, pushing the Federated Sons into a full-scale war while defending its capital. Karma weighed heavily on the Draconis Combine, bringing repercussions for past actions, echoing the calamities of the Von Rojo's reign and the tarnishing of the Chrysanthemum throne. The Combine faced the consequences of past alliances, enemies, and political decisions. Questions emerged about whether alliances with House Davian, formed to defeat common enemies, like the Smoke Jaguars, had been wise, as the former allies now crossed borders unprovoked. Additionally, the rise of the Black Dragons, a group viewed as traitors, further threatened the stability of the dragon. Meanwhile, the decision to join the Star League, a cooperative alliance, undermined the unique strength of House Kurita, possibly leading to the degradation of the dragon's prosperity. Amidst the Coordinator's national reforms, some urged a return to their roots and a cleaning sweep of the realm. While not immediately affecting the Combine, the onset of the Word of Blake War had grave implications, particularly the coup on Luthien and the spreading fires of war. The uncertainty caused by the Coordinator's illness and the word of Blake's assaults on the Combine's worlds exacerbated the crisis, underlining the haunting legacy of past conflicts. After Thomas Marek's ascension as the first Lord of the Star League, the Free Worlds League unexpectedly plunged into conflict due to heightened tensions between Sky and Sirius. Despite early setbacks and the isolation of several worlds, the League, under the strategic leadership of Jeremy Brett, Marshal of Tamarind, managed to repel the Lyran offensive. Despite this, the League faced internal strife, with Zion Province protesting troop redeployment and growing questions about their perceived solo operation stance in the war. Duchess Alice Marek and Thomas Marek both advocated for unity and caution, while his focus on the war efforts curbed the apparent political ambitions of Jeremy Brett. Amidst the turmoil, the League conducted a surprise recall of the Knights of the Inner Sphere to the capital, Atreus, ostensibly to show military might. However, the absence of the League's ally, the Word of Blake, from active defense raised questions about their role and motivations in the conflict. While the Free Worlds League emerged with the upper hand against the Lyran Alliance, the complete picture of this conflict and the League's alliances could be more apparent. After the Second Star League's dissolution, the Word of Blake unveiled their true intentions by launching a vicious assault against the Inner Sphere states and Comstar. The key target was Tukaid, where they executed a merciless orbital bombardment, indiscriminately hitting both military and civilian targets. Despite assassination attempts on Comstar leadership and heavy losses, they retaliated by initiating Case White, the most extensive naval campaign since the early Succession Wars, involving a force of 11 divisions aiming to retake Terra from the Word of Blake. However, the operation failed to achieve its goal due to underestimating the Word's forces and unknown technological advancements. This led to a staggering loss of life and a retreat of the Comstar forces, leaving the Word of Blake in a stronger position. They quickly capitalized on the Inner Sphere's disarray, consolidating their control over several nearby worlds. Amidst this chaos, many nations started surrendering to the Blakeist demands, leading to an expanding reign of terror across the Inner Sphere. In the wake of the disbandment of the Star League, the clans previously united began to experience internal strife and discord. The Ravens, Vipers, Bears, and Wolves clashed politically and brutally. Warnings of unrest started with buildups of forces at locations like Tokasha and York, with fears of renewed hostilities. Even as the 151st Light Horse Garrison prepared for the worst, a feud between the Cloud Cobra and Coyote clans over the Kufahal bloodname turned violent. This turmoil also impacted the Inner Sphere, with unprovoked assaults by the Ghost Bears and the Snow Ravens on various locations, causing unease. The fall of the Star League left the Nova Cats in a state of confusion, resulting in their retreat to Eris. In the meantime, Khan Kel stepped up to strengthen the defenses along the Lyran Falcon boundary, while suspicious of Falcon Khan Marth Pride's intentions. The wolves, despite pressure, were not to make significant moves. This escalating unrest, characterized by power struggles and factional conflict, suggested a trend toward opportunism amongst the clans. The Federated Sons propaganda machine quickly blamed the Capellan Confederation for the dissolution of the Star League. The Capellans were accused of being collaborators and betrayers, even though they had been spared the chaos of the Word of Blake attacks. The Capellans defended themselves, pointing out that they had refused aid from other nations, who later rebuked them for not getting involved. They accused the Federated Sons of launching a new offensive to subjugate the Capellan people, bringing atrocities upon them. Despite the accusations and loss of trust, the Capellans vowed to do what was right for their citizens and defended their innocence. The Capellan Confederation's withdrawal from the Star League sparked speculation, and the Inner Sphere was surprised when the Word of Blake did not attack Cyan. Duke Hasek of the Capellan March launched Operation Sovereign Justice against the Capellan Confederation, leading to a dramatic assault on the Celestial Throne. In a year of chaos, conflicts erupted throughout the Inner Sphere. The Word of Blake's aggressive actions against Wolf's Dragoons and their allies contributed to the turmoil. Simultaneously, the Black Dragon Society staged a coup, clan aggressions increased, and Comstar struggled against the Word of Blake. The collapse of the Star League plunged the Inner Sphere into unprecedented chaos, and the Word of Blake took advantage by disrupting communications and expanding its influence. While selfish motives drove conflicts, the Word of Blake claimed to protect ordinary people. Communication breakdowns due to Word of Blake propaganda favored their agenda. Industrialized systems suffered the most, while less strategic worlds were less affected. The chaos and confusion further benefited the Word of Blake. Various factions engaged in conflicts, including the Free Worlds League being invaded by the Lyran Alliance and the clans. The League and Capellan Confederation continued counterattacks. Mercenaries faced suspicion, and Comstar faced attacks and the spread of the whiteout virus. Chaos grew, and the Blakeist agenda persisted. The war engulfed every Inner Sphere nation. Clan Snowraven invaded the Draconis Combine. The Draconis March experienced heavy strikes. Hohairo Kurita was rescued. HPG stations were cleansed, and heroic actions provided hope. Industries suffered destruction, layoffs, and dark reports of dying planets emerged. The Word of Blake gained more worlds, and chaos spread. The Inner Sphere struggled to extricate itself from the conflagrations, while the Word of Blake aimed to reshape humankind. Dark news persisted as rumors of civilian atrocities and prison camps emerged. The clans exploited the chaos and engaged in invasions. The Federated Sons and Capellan Confederation faced internal and external threats. Bioengineered plagues caused much tragedy as war overshadowed hope for peace. The Blakeists waged a war of tyranny and fear. Humanity's descent into chaos accelerated as old animosities persisted. The Blakeists expanded their protectorate while old hatreds fueled clashes. The Confederation claimed victory. The Free Worlds League fractured, and the Word of Blake attacked Cyan. The clans resumed their invasion, worsening the darkness. The war threatened the fabric of humanity as the Word of Blake aimed to destroy everything. Between 3068 and 3070, the Word of Blake Protectorate stabilized economically, focusing on training and fortifying its new protectorate militia. The Free Worlds League faced a political conspiracy threatening to break its parliament. With the Blakeists' intervention, the base of Imposter Marek was destroyed, leading to the selection of untainted politicians. The Blakeists also seized control of naval might, with many former FWLM units joining the Protectorate, adding experienced troops to new militia divisions. Despite the progress, the FWLM's battle against Duke Steiner continued, resulting in the League reclaiming some lost worlds. The Confederation, missing its leader Sun Tzu, fought against Davian aggression. The Word intervened, securing worlds around Kittery and providing some stability. After Sun Tzu's surprising re-emergence, the Confederation curbed the Davian tide, despite persistent questions about Sun Tzu's mental health. However, The attack on the Protectorate by the Capellans and the breakdown of communications extended conflicts between the Confederation, the Suns, and the Protectorate. The abduction of the Combine's heir in 3069 signaled a period of internal strife that disrupted the Combine's industrial sector and caused severe military losses. The Federated Suns exploited this instability, using a chemical weapon on Galadon. The death of Coordinator Theodore Kurita in 3070 left the Combine on the brink of collapse. The Federated Suns were characterized by disorder. Duke George Hasek sought revenge on the Capellan state, and Duke Tancred Sandoval targeted the Combine, while border worlds were left defenseless. The Protectorate tried to intervene, but the AFS escalated violence, forcing the Protectorate to evacuate civilians. Instead of accepting their faults, Suns leaders manipulated facts to provoke public anger against the Protectorate. The Lyran Alliance also experienced the tyranny of its nobility. The Dukes of Bolin and Skye caused turmoil along the League border. Despite the Blakist's control of Hesperus II and the Alliance capital, power-hungry nobles continued their aggressive actions. The LAAF managed to shift blame towards the Protectorate, alleging biological assassination. However, facing Clan Jade Falcon's assault, the Lyrans made some progress. In the meantime, the clan threat increased. Clan Snowraven targeted Galadon and Dante, while clans Jade Falcon and Wolf seized Lyran border worlds. The Ghost Bears began their invasion, adding to the instability. Throughout 3073, the conflict escalated significantly. Initially, Blakist scored victories at New Home and New Avalon and disrupted Allied coordination with a bomb at an international summit. The Draconis Combine, meanwhile, purged the Black Dragon's society. As the year progressed, instability spread with the shutdown of Clan Jade Falcon's HPG network, a declaration of independence from the Federated Suns by the Malagrata combat region, and attacks by the Circanus Federation. Blakist forces experienced setbacks with a significant tactical blunder on Arcturus and a disruptive Capellan Canopian attack on a Word staging ground. The Allied forces also faced internal challenges, including the employment of nuclear weapons by the Capellans and strains in combined Arcub relations. Devlin Stone emerged as a critical figure, winning a trial of possession for Tukaid's Comstar HPG compound, negotiating with Victor Steiner Davian, and outlining plans to liberate territories. In August 3073, Thomas Marek negotiated a ceasefire between the Capellan Confederation and the Free Worlds League. After an assassination attempt, he was replaced by his son, Titus. The year concluded with Stone convincing Skye to accept Allied aid, the assassination of Archon Peter Steiner Davian by a Blakist operative, and Kali Liao charged with treason. In 3074, coalition forces led by Chandrasekhar Kurita attacked Odessa, exposing Blakist facilities despite a repelled assault. Meanwhile, the internal conflict caused Blakist forces and Kali Liao's warrior houses to retreat from Sion's Forbidden City. Efforts to avert further conflict saw Prince Titus Cameron Jones renouncing his claim to the Captain Generalcy. Despite ongoing Blakist attacks, alliances began to form against them, with successful retaliatory actions from the Azami delegation and joint forces of Jade Falcon and LAAF. Tensions rose after an asteroid strike on Taurus, which was suspected of FedSun's espionage, which escalated into a nuclear weapons war. Concurrently, Archon Adam Steiner announced his engagement to Baroness Heather Fine. Devlin Stone and his battalion thwarted the anticipated assault on Skye by Blakist forces. Amidst the ongoing conflict, Lyndon Ashley resurfaced, rallying the Democracy Now! Movement and Word forces abducted Bolin citizens. Despite setbacks, the Word of Blake inflicted significant damage before retreating from Balan and New Avalon. Towards the end of 3074, Allied forces led by Devlin Stone overcame the last Blakist fortifications at Maria's Elegy on Hesperus II. Clan Ghost Bear eradicated Word forces at Luthien and Pesht. Simultaneously, Archon Adam Steiner married Baroness Fine and announced their pregnancy, providing a glimpse of hope and continuity amidst the turmoil. The geopolitical landscape of the Inner Sphere was in flux with multiple factions in conflict amidst the threat of the war. The Ghost Bears were bent on revenge. Democracy now was stirring independence movements, and the Capellan Confederation warned against aggression. As alliances faltered, the Confederation remained united. Devlin Stone's influence grew, symbolizing potential unity against common threats, despite internal conflicts and the looming Free Worlds League collapse. In late 3075, the war saw significant developments. Capellan strikes and the Dominion's actions led to internal rebellions within the Word, seemingly fracturing it. Despite internal strife among the great houses, victories against the Word began to unify the inner sphere. This trend continued despite ongoing warfare and natural disasters impacting various realms. The beginning of 3076 brought a surge of victories for the Allied forces against the Word of Blake threat, thanks to Devlin Stone's coalition. The loss of Chandrasekhar Kurita, a key figure in the campaign, marred these successes. Despite this setback, the Allies pushed the Word's forces into retreat. Concurrently, other powers fought against the Blakists independently, despite internal challenges, while the Hellion threat lingered and the Diamond Sharks expanded their influence. By 3076, a multinational coalition led by Devlin Stone and Victor Steiner Davian had turned the tide of the war against the Protectorate. Despite internal divisions, the coalition registered its first major victories, uniting former rivals and putting the Word on the defensive. Some realms undertook independent offensives, using nuclear options, leading to significant devastation. As the year ended, the Word was losing, but a victory for the Allies was costly, and the Free Worlds League's internal battles continued. Unnoticed were more minor conflicts, such as the Neops fighting and the Raz al-Hajian's rebellion against the Ghost Bear Dominion. During the next 2 years, the Protectorate showed signs of decay, while a forming coalition grappled with maintaining unity among its houses. The war against the aggressive Concordat had taken a toll on the Federated Sons, and the Concordat's brutal war tactics, including the use of nuclear weapons, raised concerns. Diplomatic efforts with the Confederation failed due to their unyielding ruler, and their brutal conquests caused massive devastation. The Andurians' cooperation with the Confederation suggested deteriorating League conditions. The Regulans remained aggressive, with clandestine operations in progress. Despite some internal issues, independent League worlds and the Alliance showed growing support for the coalition. After suffering the impacts of the clan invasion, the collapse of the Second Star League, and the Word of Blake War, the Inner Sphere was now rallying behind leader Devlin Stone to combat the ensuing chaos. The Word of Blake's use of weapons of mass destruction had instigated destructive conflicts between various factions. Despite the high cost of lives, resources, and suffering, the coalition led by Stone was gradually reclaiming territories from the Blakists, bringing the ultimate victory against the Blakist menace closer. By 3078, the coalition had successfully overcome the Word of Blake's fortified outer Protectorate worlds, weakening their ability to defend Terra. The coalition's efforts in dismantling the remaining Protectorate worlds and assisting in rebuilding fractured governments were crucial. However, the survivors of the Blake Protectorate now perceived all outsiders as invaders, posing a significant challenge to restoring order. In June 3078, the coalition advanced towards Terra after overcoming significant losses. The final mission to liberate Terra began in August amidst intense resistance from fortified enemy defenses. The Blakists' scorched earth tactics resulted in widespread devastation and nuclear destruction. The war for Terra finally ended with Precentor Terrasec David Alsace's surrender. Despite the fall of Tower Point and the victory of the Inner Sphere coalition, the war against the Word of Blake was not entirely over. The enigmatic master remained elusive, and half of the Shadow Divisions and various militia forces still posed a threat. While Terra was free, the search for remnants of the Word of Blake continued on hundreds of worlds. The war's legacy and the struggle against evil persisted, rendering the future uncertain. After the fall of Terra and the defeat of the Word of Blake, the Inner Sphere entered a phase of calm. Coalition leaders established the Republic of the Sphere, aiming to rehabilitate affected worlds and establish diplomatic solutions. However, remnants of the Word of Blake resisted, further complicating the post-war political scenario. In the aftermath, the Protectorate and other Inner Sphere worlds concentrated on recovery, awaiting guidance from the Great Houses. The final Geneva Conferences of 3080 focused on shaping the future government. However, divergent views within the Liberation Forces led to uncertainty about the new regime's leadership. Despite the Coalition's successful pacification of Terra, the Word of Blake still posed a threat. Their guerrilla tactics and sphere-wide assaults, notably the Bloody Tricentennial, threatened peace efforts. The Free Worlds League faced intense struggles while pursuing the remaining Blakist forces. The collapse of the Free Worlds League, a former powerhouse, marked a significant political shift in the Inner Sphere. Succumbing to the Word of Blake's manipulation, it faced an uncertain future as fragmented remnants. This change drastically altered the universe's map, highlighting the turmoil caused by the war. The Tarian Concordat and the Federated Suns remained locked in conflict despite the end of the war. Both sides faced barriers to victory, including logistical concerns and political instability. They found themselves stuck in a war they seemingly could not win. Post-war, the Inner Sphere was at risk of economic and political chaos due to widespread destruction and disrupted network. Recovery efforts such as Devlin Stone's coalition and the Geneva Trials were launched, offering hope and justice. Leaders across various realms began reassuring their populations and working towards order restoration. The aftermath of the war significantly transformed the Inner Sphere, changing borders, leadership, and heroes. This state of constant war desensitized people, but the conflict served as a reminder of the horrors of war, leading to a period of reassessment and recovery. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this introduction to the era known as the Blakist War, Comstar Civil War, or Word of Blake War. While we are still in a blackout, let us know if you think the Word of Blake has any redeeming qualities in the comments below. We will see you next time, and remember, Blakists will always say the blessing of Blake will be with you as they activate their nukes.